Hello, today in this podcast for a scholarly audience, I will be discussing the illusion of the American dream Edith Wharton portrayed in The House of Mirth. The House of Mirth, written by Edith Wharton in 1905, offers a piteous critique of social ambition in the Gilded Age of New York. This critique bolsters its message by depicting the downfall of Lily Bart through her navigation of a series of difficult choices. It is essential to distinguish that Lily's demise is not caused by a single flaw or moment, but a continued and contributed series of failed and delayed decisions. Warren makes this clear with Lily's conflict between the ideologies of the elite, or rather leisure class, and her attempt to conform to the ethics of the middle class. Warren strategically positions Lily in this conflicted state between the two ideologies to signify her inability to surpass her privileged upbringing. Therefore, her decision to conform to the narrow sphere of the leisure class exemplifies Warren's critique of how American society has lost sight of the true pursuit of happiness and how the American dream has been misconstrued from its original moral intent. Defining the American dream from a socio-political perspective is essential, as there is an apparent tension between material success and morality. The origins and literary interpretations that help shape the idea of the American dream will be explored as well, with examinations of the Declaration of Independence, Horatio Algiers Jr.'s stories, and Mark Twain's novel The Gilded Age, A Tale of Today. Understanding the roots and differing literary views behind the ideal of the American dream will be essential when examining Lily's motivation. So the concept of an American dream was first coined by James Truslow Adams in 1931 in his book Epic of America. However, Adams argued in his message how the dream had been distorted, reduced to the pursuit of wealth and material success. Adams gave this term its official, or rather at the time, modern name, but the roots of the American dream are much deeper in its historical relevancy. The true beginning of this dream can be traced back to the origins of America itself, with the founding principles written in the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration stated, quote, all men are created equal, end quote, and are endowed with inalienable rights. It proclaims, quote, among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, end quote. This declaration was revolutionary in its idea of how ordinary people have the ability and right to pursue a better life through freedom. This acted as a blueprint for the American dream and was reinforced by Benjamin Franklin's emphasis on how prosperity and opportunity can be achieved through hard work and diligence. He wrote in his novel Information to Those Who Would Remove to America, quote, if they are poor, they begin first as servants or journeymen, and if they are sober, industrious, and frugal, they soon become masters and become respectable citizens, end quote. From the birth of America, it was self-evident the pursuit of merit and effort determined a person's destiny, not one's birth or designated class. Every citizen had the freedom to design their upward mobility as long as it did not impede on the rights of other citizens. This became central to the American identity in later centuries, but as the country progressed industrially and morally, the pursuit of happiness shifted from a search for personal virtue to a race for wealth and status. The moral core defined by the founders of America centered their beliefs on self-improvement and equal opportunity through freedom and justice. And yet, the culture in the 1800s and 1900s misconstrued this belief by equating success with financial gain and outward appearance. The 19th century began as a period of individualism and exploration due to the new freedom achieved by Britain. Americans soon departed from their colonial solitary livelihood and began to explore the vast terrain beyond the eastern colonies. The push west led to the removal of Native Americans and then soon the gold rush. These two events reflected a deeper national appetite for expansion and opportunity. However, the frontier spirit was soon overshadowed by the Industrial Revolution. The rise of factories, railroads, unions, and urban centers transformed the American economy and redefined what it meant to be successful. The online historical archive, Digital History, explains the Industrial Revolution as the primary event that sparked, quote, an era of corruption, conspicuous consumption, and unfettered capitalism, end quote. As the century progressed, the American dream gradually evolved due to the rapid industrial and social transformation of the country. The heroic story of the, quote, self-made man, end quote, rose to popularity as Horatio Alger Jr. depicted in his popular yet repetitive stories of young boys overcoming poverty with persistence and hard work. As Teresa Noah Kowalski notes in her article on Alger Jr.'s breakout novel, Ragged Dick, a young boy who once lived on the New York City streets shining shoes overcame his poverty, quote, thanks to his determination, end quote. And then subsequently, quote, Dick impresses several well-to-do city gentlemen who help him along financially, end quote. These stories became extremely popular, and Alger was a common name in newspapers. The irony is many readers took these stories and their protagonists as exemplars of the self-made man, where success was equated to determination, and would often ignore how these same protagonists were helped by older, financially affluent men. While Alger's work served as inspirational tales that reinforced the belief of the attainability of the American dream through hard work, whether Alger meant this or not, Mark Twain offers a separate and harsh critique of the very dream Alger was referring to. In his novel The Gilded Age: A Tale of Today, Mark Twain and Charles Dudley Warner creates a satirical illustration of the post-Civil War distortion of the American dream. Twain explains in the novel how the dreams of honest success were replaced by political corruption and shallow social ambition. The novel presents the reader with characters with desires for quick wealth and superficial luxury. Twain depicts the moral decay of society most vividly and comparatively to Lily Bart through Laura Hawkins, a woman raised on fantasies of fortune. She leverages her beauty and charm to escape poverty and secure status. As Twain writes, quote, she wants to be rich, she wants luxury, she wants men at her feet, her slaves, and she had not, thanks to some of the novels she had read, the nicest discrimination between notoriety and reputation. Perhaps she did not know how fatal notoriety usually is to the bloom of womanhood, end quote. Laura and her hunger for wealth reflect a larger societal pattern Twain is critiquing, that the American dream is no longer earned through character and contribution, but instead through manipulation and appearance. In the 20th century, when the House of Mirth is set, the historian James Truslow Adams wrote his epic of America, where he officially coined the term American Dream. Examining the House of Mirth through not only the lens of the historian James Truslow Adams' definition of the American dream, but also tracing back to the historical and literary perspectives of the dream as well, is essential. This would allow sufficient insight into how the dream is not achieved by chasing wealth, but what Adams describes as, quote, a dream of social order in which each man and each woman shall be able to attain to the full stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position, end quote. He explained that America had wrongly pursued the wrong prize to attain this dream, the award of material success. He concluded people began to view money as a value of personal worth, not as a medium that produces value. Adams argued the worship of materiality was a signifier of the failure of the American dream, and that instead people should be motivated by the opportunity to become rich spiritually. In the House of Mirth, Lily Bart and Gertie Farish take part on divergent paths toward Adams' ideal of a social order. Lily seeks out self-fulfillment through performance and social status, whereas Gertie adheres to modesty and emotional fulfillment. Their friendship, even with their differences in morals, portrays the contrasting approaches to achieving the American dream, those who prize appearance and wealth, and those who prioritize character and modesty. In this video, I will explore how Lily Gertie are foils to each other and how they each represent differing interpretations of the American dream, as well as examine how their bonds deepens the novel's interrogation of whether a person's social birth or character determines one's stature. The illusion of success for Lily will be examined, as well as Gertie's solemn fulfillment, and how even with their differences, the two's friendship emphasizes Warren's paradoxical view of the American dream. Warren introduces Lily Bart as a socialite who is particularly beautiful and truly believes her full potential can only be reached by securing wealth and and a high societal position. At a young age, she was taught to believe a woman's success is determined by whether she marries into money. Because of this, she chooses to perform the role of a charming, dazzling lady. Warren makes it clear early in the novel that Lily faces an apparent dilemma with pursuing happiness and achieving personal freedom. For instance, when Selden suggests to Lily living a life of independence, similar to Gertie, she dismissed the idea with her comparison, quote, "We're so different, you know. She likes being good, and I like being happy. Besides, she is free, and I am not," end quote. Lily outright admits she prefers being happy instead of being good, creating a clear distinction between the two. Being happy represents Lily's motivation for pleasure and luxury, whereas being good is the moral characteristic Gertie embodies. Also, the reference Lily makes at the end of her remark is extremely telling, as she admits the freedom Gertie possesses is because of her independent lifestyle and realizes that her dependence on seeking happiness through wealth has left her without control over her life. This control is reinforced with the narrator's description of, quote, "She was so evidently the victim of the civilization which had produced her, that the links of her bracelets seemed like manacles chaining to her fate," end quote. Warren's diction of victim and fate presents a powerful early angle on Lily's character. Lily's descriptions of being a victim to society's expectations and having a perpetual fate makes her a symbol of an average American who becomes a victim of the very dream they are taught to pursue. When society defines success by social recognition and material gain, people will be given the same fate Lily had. Lily's eventual downfall is not only a personal tragedy, but also a parallel to the millions of Americans who await the same unfortunate fate because their dream was falsely shaped by external validation by society and not internal fulfillment. The main driver for Lily and many Americans is to attain happiness. However, this happiness becomes ever more illusory and increasingly shallow. For instance, Warren writes of Lily pondering the limited choices life offers her. Quote, "What choice had she? To be herself or a Gertie Farish? She envisioned Miss Farish's cramped flat. No, she was not made for mean and shabby surroundings, for the squalid compromises of poverty. Her whole being dilated in an atmosphere of luxury. It was the only climate could breathe in." End quote. Lily is directly rejecting the path Gertie has chosen herself. Gertie's modest circumstances and simple life is something unimaginable for Lily, as if luxury was oxygen she required to live. Lily's irony lies in her being trapped in borrowed luxury, as she flourishes in the pursuit of wealth, but is never permanent. The hospitality of her wealthy friend increasingly makes her life like a, quote, "mere pensioner in splendor," end quote. Lily's illusory happiness and success path cause her to lose touch of her inner sense of self-worth and requires a repeated performance of desire. Warren portrays her pursuit of the American dream as a double-edged sword, where she believes material comfort will enable her to have a happier life. But the society she relies on makes it so her condition is never truly free. In contrast to Lily, Gertie follows a separate path to achieve happiness in the American dream, as her approach is more authentic and humble. Her moral core aligns with the American dream defined by Adams, as she does not seek out wealth, social power, and beauty. She lives in what Lily describes as, quote, "a horrid little place," end quote, with no sense of luxury. She is unfashionable, wearing plain clothes, and is shy in manner. She accepts a life without polish, and this choice is a sort of acceptance that marks her strength as a character. She finds purpose in helping others enjoy and emotional experiences, much like Adam urged people to seek out spiritual richness. Much of attaining happiness is enjoying the small things of life, and Gertie draws a great deal of satisfaction from the simple pleasures such as music and enjoying the happiness of others in their celebrations. For instance, at the society wedding, Gertie beams excitement by taking, quote, "sentimental and envious interest in all the details of the wedding," end quote. She enjoys beauty not by pursuing it, but instead by unselfish appreciation. Gertie has a strength of emotional sincerity, as she genuinely cares about things, not wishing to secure them, but rather what Adam said, quote, "to attain the fullest stature," end quote. It should also be noted that Gertie participates in a great deal of charity and philanthropy work, which embodies the democratic ideal of extending help across class lines. Gertie's charity reflects social idealism, which is at the heart of the American dream, that a person in the United States can attain their fullest happiness and fullest potential by being recognized by their character, not their class. Surprisingly, Lily Bart also takes part in genuine charity work and sees its fruits with her encounter with Nettie Struther. With Lily's help of sending Nettie to a sanatorium, ironically with Gus Turner's money, Nettie emerged recovered, married, and cradled a baby in her small kitchen. It was at this moment Lily had, quote, her first glimpse of the continuity of life, end quote. Lily evaluated Nettie's new condition and concluded she had reached the, quote, central truth of existence, end quote. In Nettie's solemn little nest, Lily observes fulfillment and a newly found security that she herself has never known. It becomes a moral epiphany, as seeing Nettie radiate with hope, love for her husband, and joy in being a mother. It makes Lily feel, for the first time, the quote, surprise sense of human fellowship, end quote. In contrast to the hollow, high society American dream she had been constantly chasing, Lily witnessed the real value in the everyday joys of love and family. After this interaction, Lily physically and emotionally feels better, as she is described to be stronger and happier. Lily's charity of benefiting another person besides herself has enlightened her soul. Adam urged others to pursue Gertie's version of the American dream, one filled with emotional richness and moral purpose. To truly attain happiness, one must be genuine in one's approach, even if that means it is less dazzling or spectacular. For instance, after the party at the Bry's, Lily was in the constant spotlight. Warren then writes how Gertie participated in the glow more quietly than Lily. Quote, Gertie Farish, the morning after the Wellington Bride's entertainment, woke from dreams as happy as Lily's. If they were less vivid in hue, more subdued to the happenings of her personality and her experience, they were better suited to her mental vision for that very reason. Such flashes of joy as Lily moved in would have blinded Miss Farish, who was accustomed, in the way of happiness, to such scant light as shone through the cracks of other people's lives. End quote. This is a beautiful metaphor that encapsulates the contentment Gertie has. Her happiness is not a spotlight, but unmistakably a beam reflected from other people's joy. She's okay with that. Lily and Gertie could not be any more different in what they value and how they live their day-to-day lives. However, they share a genuine friendship that acts as a bridge over these differences. Warren uses the relationship between the two to explain how pursuing the American dream is a paradoxical search for happiness. Lily envies Gertie's freedom and ability to live by her values without having to perform a show for others, yet she cannot fathom living a life without admiration. Gertie admires Lily's beauty and charm, but pities her dependence on a society that does not love her back. Their friendship suggests that each woman sees the other as a missing piece of herself. Warren uses this relationship to suggest that human connection offers a glimpse of genuine fulfillment even in a society that urges people to seek out external success. The tragedy of Lily represents the lie of the American dream that the elite class sells daily. The truth is that those dreams do not exist, not in the form promised. For those who are like Lily, the dream is more of a trap filled with destruction and a never-ending search for happiness. Tolkien said a quote I abide by every day in the Fellowship of the Ring. He explained that celebrating a simple life is not shameful, which I deeply agree with. The American dream sounds dazzling and promising, where a person in this country can achieve wealth and status if enough hard work is put in. However, many people get caught up in how they should achieve this dream, prioritizing the wrong values. In my opinion, happiness is achieved by appreciating the small things in life and prioritizing others over oneself. Spending time with others, partaking in hobbies that you genuinely enjoy, and being responsible for people that you love is what life is all about. The true American dream is about the well being of the community, not just an individual success. Lily Bart's story reminds us that the chase for status and external validation can lead to emptiness, while Gertie's quiet life shows that the meaning is often found in everyday joys. The novel does not just critique society and the perceived American dream, but also encourage us to reconsider what we genuinely value, and in doing so invites us to dream differently. Thank you.